Well, welcome to part 19 of our mixed language adventure game. Today we're using Python, and we're now going to get some actual goings on so that we can start to actually play the game. I'll just run it through so you can see what we'll be getting to today. And this time I'm going to disable debug mode because we don't need to go all through that. We've done that before. So it goes straight to the first sort of introduction. We've done all this sort of stuff before, so we just got to put a name in. Then we've got to choose a character. So this is all stuff we've all done before. And here we're going to the play function, which is in function main. And what it used to do when you went into the play function is it would just tell the game state that it was now in the quit form, and then of course that would quit this loop and everything stops. Now it's actually going to do something. So let's hit the play button and you'll see we now have a new menu coming up. So if you remember on the last episode, we were creating these locations. So we've got 4 of them. One of them is the hotel room, which was one that we set to be the starting location. So it says you're in a hotel room, a damp hotel room, and then its description of what's in there. These were the items that we created on the earlier episodes. So in this location there is a torch and a book. So we've now got some kind of brief description of where we are and what's in there. The menus come up with what next, and based on what's in the room, if there's anything in there, there'll be an examine and take that item. And of course there's a torch and a book, so we've got examine and take book. And then it will then check what exits there are available from this hotel room. There's only one, which is to go east, or of course we can now quit the game. So let's go through these in turn. These of course are all idiot proofed, so you can have to type in a genuine number from 1 to 6. So let's be logical and start with 1, which is examine the torch. So if I prick enter, for a couple of seconds you get a message there. Let me just untick that so that this will play continuously initially. So I'll just do that again. So the message appears down here for a couple of seconds, then disappears again. So let's press 1 again. Okay, and then we've got the option of taking the torch. So let's press 2. Now the menu redraws, and it says we're still in the hotel room, damp hotel room. In this location there is book. So in other words, the torch has disappeared. Because of that, we can examine or take the book, open the inventory, go east or quit. So let's go through these in turn. Let's examine the book. A very useful book. And then we can take the book. Okay, so we've now reduced the choices either to open the inventory, go east, which is the only exit we've got, or quit. Let's do open inventory so that we can see what's in there. And now we get kind of a sub menu, which allows us to interact with the menu, with our inventory. So we can examine or drop the torch, examine or drop the book, or exit menu. So we've already done the examine, but I'll just repeat it. It works exactly the same way. Now we're going to drop the torch. So we drop it, and then the menu reduces because we've only got the book in our inventory now. So what I'm going to do is to drop it so that we have nothing in our inventory, and you'll see that it actually doesn't come back again because the inventory is empty. So we drop the book, and that goes back to the normal menu, which shows the hotel room. In there is a torch and a book. We examine them, blah, blah, blah. So we'll now go to our next one which is 5, which is to go east. So we'll press that one, and we're now in the next location. So we're in the corridor, a dark corridor with a warm carpet. Now obviously these are very brief descriptions, just to show you how you can get a game going. Ideally you'd want a nice long text description of the location, so that you kind of build up more of an exciting adventure. This is just very basic, just to show you how to do things. I was also considering putting this kind of text in its own box, but it adds another layer of complications to the tutorial, and this is something you can do for yourselves based on how I've built up this menu here using the lines and so on. So that's over to you. So we're in the next room. It says what's next, and we've got the choices again based on what's in the location, which is a key card and a key. So let's examine the key card first of all, and it says magnetic strip, property of Premier Inns. We can take that. Now we can examine the key. Now this is our Yale front door key covered in rat vomit. The reason for that is on the next stage of the game we're going to introduce an enemy, and the key will actually be located in the enemy, and when you kill it then it will drop the key, and that's why it's covered in rat vomit, because the enemy is a rat. But, yeah, it's kind of weird humour, but so that's why the key's there. I'm not going to take the key, I'm going to leave that where it is, and I'm going to press go north, which is my choice for 4, and it says you need the key in your inventory to go that way. So I don't want to go that way yet, because that's the kind of the end of the game. Let's go east, which is 5. We're now in the lift, a dangerous lift with doors that do not close properly. There's nothing in here. This is where the rat or the enemy will be next game, because remember we've only got 4 locations, which is the hotel room, corridor, lift, and then to the north of the corridor we've got, I think it was a magic portal, I can't remember. No, it was reception. So we've only got the inventory and go west choices. There's no point in opening the inventory just yet. We'll do the go west. So we've already found out that we can't go north. Let's go go west, which should be back to the hotel room. You use the key card in your inventory to enter the hotel room. So because we had the key card in our inventory, we were able to get through. Now if I open the inventory, so we're now in the hotel room and we drop the key card. So we're now dropping the key card inside the hotel room. We can go out of the hotel room by going 7, go east. But if we try and go back again by using 5, go west, we need the key card in your inventory to go that way. So we cannot now go west. But we did have a look at this key on the ground, so let's take the key. So that's now in our backpack. And now we'll try and go north, because it did tell us a message a moment ago that we can't go north without the key. We use the key in inventory to enter, and it says you're in reception, the end of the adventure, well done, there are no exits. So our only choices is to check what's in the inventory or quit. So let's quit. Thank you for playing. Enter to quit. So for the first time since we started, we've actually got a running game. We haven't got any enemies to fight, but we can at least interact with the items in the locations, and we can move from one place to the other. So let's go through how that's all done. Now there's no new classes, but there's been some major updates to the ones that we've already got. First one is relatively small. That's in the location class. So all I've done here is just to alter the display location slightly. We weren't even using it before, so we wouldn't have come across this, but if you've kind of been copying code from what I have as I've been going through it, then there is a small change here. So what I've done is we're still creating a list of exits, but what we're checking is first of all, it's going to print out you are in a self_name, self_description. So it just gives a little bit more detail in sort of the name of the area that we're in, as well as the description. Then only if there are no exits will we print out there are no exits. We're not going to print out, oh, there are exits to the east, to the west, to the north, because this next one is basically going to do that. So we're going through the each of the items, and then we're going to put down where the items are, and then we're going to return the exits and the rows. So the list of exits is constructed here, and then we return that back to the calling function and the row that we're currently on, so that it prints correctly. So that's all this one does. So we're just printing the any items that are in there, and only if there are no exits will we get some kind of output from this location class. So that's that one done. Now main, there's no change in the main function here, except that play now does something instead of just telling you that it's time to quit. So this def main is exactly the same as it was, but I needed to start here because I want to stop on the play function when I step through it. So let's just drop that back for a moment. Now this lot has been quite a lot of code added to it. So we've now got this check exit, which checks to see whether we can move in a certain direction. It's a way of kind of getting what it does is to return the next location when you've asked to move. I want to go east, for example. First of all, it's going to check, do we need an item to go in that direction? So that's how this one works, but we'll step through it in a minute and you'll see. So it just checks whether we need an item to get into the next location. The play function is the kind of the main loop here. This is the one that is called over and over again by the loop in main. And that has some subroutines that check out what we're doing, whether we want to examine or take or look at the inventory or quit. And that's helped by these kind of helper functions, which is take action and use inventory. So I'll just leave that there for a moment in case you wanted to pause and copy down the code, but we'll step through it now and so you can see how things go. So let's hit the play button. So of course I'll disable, we don't need the debugging mode, so we'll have to go through this just to get to that point. So I'm not going to try testing out things by putting the wrong names in or all that kind of stuff. So we'll just choose, it doesn't really matter. So this bit was all the things we've already covered in our previous demonstrations. So we're now running the play function. So let's F11 and step into play. Now it's setting up this action variable, which is of type string, and we're setting it to empty string for the moment. The row is obtained as before from console.clear, so that we're clearing the console and telling us that the row will be 0. So let's just step very quickly through those. Okay, now the next bit here is a variable, and this variable is of type location.location. So this is an instance of the location class. This is a location object. That's why I've put that in. For those of you who are not familiar with the I believe it's called type hinting. So it gives you a hint as to what exactly is in this variable. This is of type location.location. It's an object. So we're setting it up by calling the shared, or getting the shared location's shared current location. So if I put my mouse over it, the current location is the hotel room. So we're actually setting it equal to the hotel room object by pressing that. So now in C# when we do this, we will be able to read all of the data that's stored in that location. All we get in Python is an object at its memory address. So not terribly helpful, but when we go through the C# one, you'll see exactly how that works. So we've got this object, which is, I've called it here, and it's the current location, basically. All right. And then we're now going to call that, and because we're using here, we're now going to call the display location function within that one here and return back the current exits and the row. So we should now step into the location class. So let's press F11. Okay, so we're in the location class, and we're in we're creating an empty list here, and it says if self to north. So let's hover over these. So self to north is an empty string, self to east is corridor, self to south is an empty string, and self to west is an empty string. So what we're going to be doing is appending whatever's to the east, because that's the only one that's got anything in it, to our list of exits. So let me just go through those. So we're appending east, and that's it. So our exits, again, is just going to show east as it's a list, but it's all it's got in it at the moment is east. So that's where the exits are. This is going to print out where we are, which is hotel room and a damp hotel room. So let's just print that out, and we can show you in the console. So you're in a hotel room, a damp hotel room. Then if the length of the exits equals 0, it'll then print there are no exits. So this is what happens when we get into the end game. There are no exits. We're in at the end of the adventure. That's our way of checking that we're in the end of the adventure. So let's just check that. Obviously that doesn't do anything because there are no exits. We're setting the row by default to 2, and then we're going to check if the length of the self items is greater than 0. It is greater than 0 because in this location we've got a torch and a book. So let's step through those. So we're setting up this output string to say in this location there is, and then we can add on to it whatever is in here. So for item in self items, we're going to go through and add that item plus a comma and a space. So if I step through the first one, so output is currently in this location there is. We press F11, and that will now have increased to there is torch, comma. Do it again, and it now says torch, comma, book, comma. Now this last bit just strips away that comma from the output. So output is torch, comma, book, comma, space. Once we strip that away, output becomes torch, comma, book. So it just kind of tidies it up and neatens it out. Then we print out that output. So I'll go back to the column here. In this location there is torch, book. We increase the row by 1 to compensate for the fact that we've printed out 2 rows. So if we press F11, so the row is now on row 3, which would be down here. And then we return the exits, which is east, and the row, which is 3. So that's our first take action one here we've gone through to show you how that works. And so we've returned the this is the here display location is what we have just got. So we've got the row, which is 3, and the exits, which is east. Now we're going to go into the take action function down here to return 2 values, and we're passing in the location object, the exits that we've just obtained from there, and the row number 3. So let's step into that one. So we're now in the take action. So we're having an empty list here. And this is where we're going to build up our menu for the options of what the player can do next. So here, items, which unfortunately won't show in Python, but it's the items that are available in the current location. If those number of items is greater than 0, it's going to go through. So let's do that. We'll F11. Self items has now been returned. Still not going to show them. No, it just shows them as a property. So if we step them through for item in here, so the first item is the torch. So we're going to put append examine torch, and then we're going to append after that take torch. So that does that. Not sure if options will show up. Yes, there we are. Examine torch and take torch. So we've added that to our list of options. Then we're going to go through again, and this will be for the book, I believe. Item is book. Yep. So we're going to add that. So our options now has examine torch, take torch, examine book, take book. So those are the menu options that have been produced so far. If the length of the player inventory is greater than 0, at the moment it's not, it's empty. If we did have some stuff in our inventory, then it would append open your inventory as an option. But as it's empty, it's going to skip that. It's then going to check whether the length of the exits is greater than 0, which it is because we've got one exit there, and then add those options to it. So we're going to append go and the direction east. So we're going to add go east. So our options now have examine book, take book, go east. We're now automatically going to append the quit option. So we've now got our full set of options, which is examine torch, examine book, take book, go east, and quit. So we're now going to pass that to the keyboard menu, which we have used numerous times, with the title as what next options row. So that's going to be passed to it. And then what we'll do is I'll put my stop sign there, and we'll run this so that the menu appears and we can choose our option. So let's hit that. There we go. So we've got the menu. What next? Those are our options which you just saw us constructing. So we're now going to examine the torch as it's the first one. So press 1 and enter. Now the choice here that's given back is not what I've done is I've put options open brackets keyboard menu choice. So that's returning an integer. And then I'm using that as the index to our options. So the choice itself will be a string. So we've chosen to examine the torch. So we're checking, is the choice equal to quit? No, it isn't. It's equal to examine torch. So we've passed that one by. Else if the string go space is in the choice. No, it isn't. We've got examine torch in there. Okay. Else if examine in choice. Oh, that's handy because choice has got examine torch. So this will be true. Examine is in torch. So we press F11 and we want to get the item out. So at the moment, choice is examine space torch. So we want to find out what we're trying to examine. So this is using Python's sort of substring method, which is to take the 8th character. So we're kind of cropping out examine space and we're getting the item. So if I press F11, the item now is torch. So we've got the what we're trying to get out of it. And now we're returning examine as a string and the item torch. So we kind of separated out what we're trying to do. So let's F11 and that will return that value. So we've gone back to play now. So the action that we want to do is examine, and the parameter, what do we want to do with that action? So we want to examine torch. So this of course could be anything. It could be go east, it could be drop torch, it could be whatever you want to make it to do. So our action is examine and the parameter is torch. So is the action equal to go? No, it's not. Else if the action is equal to examine, which it is. So we're now going to step into this part here. So F11, and it says you examine the, which of course is the torch, and then print shared items paran get description. So we're going to get the description of that. So let's print out the press F11. So it says you examine the torch. Now we're going to get the description of that. So the parameter is torch. So in order to get the data about that, that's just a string. So we need to look at the object that's using its key, which is torch. So the shared items torch get description. So the shared items torch will give us the actual object, and then from there we can get the description of that object. So if we press F11, it will step through that. So it's getting the self.description of our item, and that will print it out. Let's show you on the screen here. So you examine the torch, a magnificent flaming wooden torch. Maybe this is in the wrong adventure game. Again, you can put whatever descriptions you want in your items to add something to your game. This was just kind of a bit of silliness that we picked up a torch, but we've kind of got the wrong kind of torch because we're not in a Dungeons and Dragons. We're in anyway, you get the idea. So then we sleep for 2 seconds, which we'll do next. That's it, and then we return back to main. So we're doing our while loop now, and the game state is still 1, which is equal to shared game states play. So it's going to call play again, and we're going to step through the whole thing again. So I won't go through all the options here except for the one that allows us to move, because that involves some other work here. So let's just run this again, and I'm going to stop it at that point there if we choose go. So let's hit the thing there. So my choice is to go east. We want to move this time. So let's press 5. So the choice, is it quit? No, it's go. So untick that. So the direction equals to choice 3. So it's just setting up this string called direction, and then giving it a value. So if I press F11, the direction is to_east. So we're going to return the string go and to east. So let's press F11. And I'd already put a stop one on here, but as it happens, we've already stopped here. So the action equals go, and we're going to pass that to this check exit. So if I press F11, it's going to set the current location to a new value. The current location at the moment is hotel room, and it's going to check exit, passing our location object and to east. So let's check that out and see how this works. So here's our check exit, which was the other main function that we have defined today in here. So where the item required is set to an empty string, and then the next location, which again is of type location. So this next location variable is a variable of type object, location object. So we're setting next location to where we currently are. So next location is a copy of where we already are here. And then what we're checking is if the direction is to north, we set it to east, if you remember. So we can ignore that. And we're going to check the next location is we're setting it to the shared locations here underscore to east. So let's see how that works. So we are inside the location object, and we want to return whatever is to the east. To east is corridor. So we're going to return that. We press F11. So our next location that we have just been checking, to east. So again, it's just going to give us this kind of object memory here, but we're going, I don't know if we can do that. No, we can't get any of this information. We'll have to wait till we do the C# version. But so we're going to the east, and we've set up our next location, and we're going to check now, do we need an item to get into the next location? So the item required, which we set off as an empty string, is we're going to check the next location. So let's step through and find out what that is. So this is the item required, which is nothing. So luckily in this particular location, which is a dark corridor with a worn carpet, and its name is corridor. So this is the corridor location object that we're now checking. So let's go back to main. Let's press F11. So we're passing back the self item required, and it's empty string. So in this case, we don't need to do anything. If the item required is not equal to empty string, we would then need to check whether the item required is in the player inventory. And if it's not, it would then print out you need the item required in the inventory to go that way. We can't move, so it sets the next location back to here rather than the next location that we've already chosen up here. If we have got the item in our inventory, then it says you use the item required to enter, and then we move on. So we are returning the next location name, which unfortunately is a property, so we won't be able to see that at this stage. F11, so we're returning the next location that we want to move to, which we chose was the corridor, which is the one to the east. And then the name, of course, is corridor. So that's returning the correct value there. So by choosing go, it has changed our current location to corridor, because it checked out to see whether that was, can we move to it? Yes, we can. So the current location has now changed to corridor. So F11, and again we're back at the play state again. I think the only thing I will, let's press that to get our, so we've checked out what happens when we examine or take an object. I suppose the only one we need to do is to pick something up so that we can then check how the inventory thing works. So let's pick up the key card. We'll take the key card, and again we'll just press the continue button for the play. And now we want to open the inventory. So let's press 3. So here we're going to move in to our options. So the inventory was made up just from another call to the menu. So we want to now go into the use inventory. So let's select our option choice here. So we'll go down to this point here, which once we've chosen our option will allow us to choose it. So let's go back here. So let's choose examine the key. No, let's choose drop. We're going to drop the key card. Press enter. So we're inside the use inventory function at the moment. If examine in choice contains drop key card, so that's not what we wanted. If drop in choice, which it is, the item that we're going to drop gets the substring, so the item is keycard. It then prints out you drop the keycard. So we'll show that on the menu. You drop the keycard. And now we want to remove that item from the player's inventory. So we're calling player.remove from inventory and passing the keycard. So let's do that. And we're also going to add that item to the shared current location. So let's do that first. So the shared locations, the current location that we're going to current location, which of course is the corridor, we're going to add that keycard. So let's show you how we do that. So we're in the current location of, I just get its name for you, is the corridor. We're checking whether the item key which we've just passed in the keycard is not in self.items. So if it's already in there, we've got the key in there, but we don't have the key card, so we can simply add it by using self.items append item key. So we've now added that item which we have dropped from the player back into the inventory, or the items that are in here, and now we're going to remove it from the player by pressing F11. Just increase the font there. So remove from inventory is inside the player class. So we had to use the global thing, unfortunately, because inventory we are now either adding to or removing. So very annoying, that global keyword, but we're stuck with it. So if item is in the inventory, so the inventory consists of keycard, and so we're just checking whether it's there to remove. And so we will now remove using the built-in Python string remove. So we'll remove that item, and it's no longer in our inventory, so we'll sleep for 3 seconds, and then we'll go back to here. You drop the key card and play. So we've gone through the full cycle. So we what next? Examine key, take key, and so on. So we're now in the corridor, and we've got these options here. So I think we've gone through all of these various functions to show how they work. We've showed you how the check exit to make sure we can go in a specific exit. We've shown you the play, which is the one that runs all the time. We've shown you this little sub take action, and we've shown you the use inventory. So that's all the new functions running today. So that's the Python version, and we are now able to move around our world. So some real progress here. So I hope that's been useful.